Unaware, Kratos stands in Brock and Sindra's forge as the Draupnir Spear fractures into echoes. Brock's hammer strikes, each a silent pact. Atreus watches, unaware, the duplicates gleam, promising strength. But magic demands payment. What is forged in dwarven fire is not undone. The spear's gift is a chain, its links shadowed by Thor's legacy. Who wields it does not own it, the question remains, who does? Each duplicate spear births a debt unpaid. The magic was a pact dwarven forges etched servitude into its spine. To wield is to owe. The copies multiply, yet the price divides the soul, shard by shard, until the user kneels not to gods, but to the smiths who wrote their name in iron. How many hands grasped it, thinking to command only to be held? The saga whispers their names. None escaped. Svartalfheim's forges breathe. Brock and Sindri shaped the Draupnir Spear in a time when dwarf smithing bent myth to metal. Their hands, stained with primordial fire, wove a paradox, a weapon that multiplied its strikes. The first test. A single drop of dwarf blood, it split into 9. The magic gleamed, the cost bled unseen. Each replication drew a debt, not in gold but in silence. The spear's copies were never duplicates. They were echoes tethering wielder to forger, a snare of iron and obligation. Thor's name was whispered in its lore, though he never gripped it. His might, the dwarves' gauge. His fame, their leverage. Centuries later, Kratos and Atreus stood in that same shadow. Brock's fingers trembled as he mended the spear's hilt. Sindra's eyes never met theirs. The god of war knew chains. He did not know dwarven silence. The boy asked no questions. Some truths are etched deeper than runes. The Draupnir Spear does not grant power, it collects it. Every copy a ledger entry, every battle a signature. The dwarves did not bind the weapon. They bound the hand that reached for it. What is a king but a pawn with a crown? What is a god but a debtor in a forge's debt? The spear's curse is no curse. It is arithmetic, the price was paid in silence. The interest, a soul's slow forging into ore. Who now wields it, thinking to command? The dwarves wait, their forges never sleep. Each cast forges a copy, each copy steals a shadow. The spear's hunger is not for gold, but for the breath between heartbeats. To wield it is to build a bridge of self, stone by stolen stone. The dwarves do not ask, they tally, a sword multiplied, a soul scored, a shield conjured. Another notch in their ledger, the user smiles, thinking wealth is won. They do not see the frost climbing their ribs. Kratos and Atreus learned this when the 9th world rime, Fimbulwinter, clawed free its teeth fed on the debt unpaid. The spear's magic is a slow drowning. You pull water from the well, unaware the rope is your spine. The dwarves are not gods. They are accountants of the void, their forges burn with what is owed. The last wielder stood tall, a mountain of duplicates in hand. On the 13th night, the copies moved. Not as tools, as heirs. What is replicated, eventually asterisk replaces asterisk. The original fades, the copies remember. The dwarves never sleep, but they dream of a world where every wish is a shackle, and every wish granter their slave. The dwarves' dreams are not idle. Thor's storms, Odin's wisdom both paid tolls in blood to the forges that birthed Draupnir. A spear that mimics creation, yet steals the creator. Each wielder's triumph became a ledger entry, their essence etched in runes only the stonekin could read. Generations paid, Thor's sons, Odin's heirs, the line of gods and men bent, but never broke until Kratos. He saw the pattern, Brock and Sindris gleamed too bright, their praise too sharp. A father's eyes, not a conqueror's, measured the cost. The spear could replicate a shield, a weapon, a life, but what it copied was not the object. It was the hunger behind the hand. Atreus must not inherit this. Must not become a link in the chain of those who thought they wielded fate. So Kratos turned away, let the dwarves' gold-coated trap rust in their vaults. A choice that split the saga's spine, not strength but refusal. The old god's final lesson, some legacies are knives best left unraised. The curse endures. New hands will grasp, new cycles will spin, but one thread frayed. A father's resolve, colder than Niflheim's breath, severed the circle. The dwarves dream on, they will wait. But wait for what? A god's return. Or a child bold enough to mistake their cradle for a throne, the spear lies still. Its copies remember, and the dwarves, they never sleep. But this artifact is more than what it does. Each copy forged is a debt unpaid, a vow etched in shadow, binding wielder to the dwarves' sleepless vigil. The price, a soul held in their vaults, forever theirs to claim. The spear's gift was a cycle, 8 copies born each night, 8 chains forged in shadow. Each replication a gear and a machine, the dwarves never built it, always controlled. Kratos learned this too late. A father's hands, steady as stone, could not shield a son from the weight of what he carried. The knowledge etched into the shaft was not power, it was a dirge, a hymn to cycles unbroken. To wield Draupnir was to sign in ash. The dwarves did not need iron bonds. They had the silent claim of debt, the slow erosion of a soul marked for harvest. Every copied blade, every mirrored haft was a tally, a father's years counted down. The spear did not command loyalty, it bred it. In every hand that gripped its shaft, the unspoken pact festered. Asterisk, you are not your own. Asterisk, generations paid the price. Odin's first, then Kratos. The burden of knowing asterisk, this is how it ends. Asterisk, passed like a shroud from sire to son. The replication was never the miracle, it was the trap, a lie in the shape of abundance. To create was to surrender. Each copy a thread pulled taut, binding wielder to the vaults beneath the world. The dwarves slept. The debt remained. What father could break such a chain? What son could inherit without becoming the curse? What spears for terms? It let the weight of ages do that. Let the hands that held it crack. Let the voice that spoke for it falter. A tool, a tomb, a testament. The Draupnir's true power was not in what it made, it was in what it took. And no father, no matter how many blades he bore, could ever repay that cost. The forge smiths Brock and Sindri still guard the spear's hush. Kratos bent steel, Atreus turned page, neither guessed the price. Fimbulwinter's breath now chokes the world, a debt paid in frozen breath. What does a god's tool demand when its master is gone? The Draupnir's is not a gift. It is a ledger, each use etches the wielder's name in iron, a claim on their shadow. Thor's air may yet stir the ice, but the dwarves count every strike. No blade, no magic can cleave what the spear has bound, a soul's right to itself. The spear waits, the ice creeps, the cost is not yet known. The spear's gift was never creation, it was extension. Each replication etched a mark on the wielder's soul, a tally of debts to shadows that did not need to be seen. Generations carried the weight, mistaking repetition for mastery. A father's pride in his son's strength became a ledger entry. The child who learned to split stone with the spears might never ask if the stone was his to split. Knowledge is not freedom, it is the echo of choices that outlive their makers. Thor's bloodline carried the spear's shadow, not as a tool, but as a question. What does a man become when his power is another's design? The ice creeps, the cost is not yet known. But here in the quiet between heartbeats, a truth lingers, a weapon can be forged, a legacy unmade. In every father's hand a question, what do you give your child? A weapon, or the will to lay it down? The Spartan red cape drapes every heir who lifts the Draupnir. Generations pay the price of replication, each copy a shadow, each shadow a claim. Forged in a forge not their own, wielders become vessels, a debt unpaid, a soul unclaimed. What other art